The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
This week's episode of PSVG Prime is brought to you by our amazing Patreon producers, Coach Hulk, Edwin Callow, Devin Tyus, Kevin Austin, Chris M., Kyle Heyman, Nick Metziger, Nathan Thomas, Carolina Dord, Grouchy Surge, Justin Picker, Delvin Cox, Josh Barboni, Barry Cathcart, and Paul Calico. Thank you all for your support. Now, quick reminder, this month, that's right, April's giveaway is sponsored by PSVG Prime. So, for this month, naturally, we had to do something a little special, and the winner for this month will receive, you may have saw it on Twitter a while back, a very stylish black PSVG logo polo shirt. So if you aren't already a member of the Patreon, sign up now for just $1 gets you entered into our monthly giveaways, and of course, the access to that, I don't want to say amazing PSVG DLC, but it's something, that's for sure. We'll just leave it at that. So thank you, everyone. Patreon.com/PSVG. And now on to this week's episode of PSVG Prime. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of PSVG, but we're officially calling it PSVG Prime going forward. With me, of course, is my co-host, hostess with the mostess. I mean, I don't know, maybe?
I like hostess.
I mean, we all like hostess, especially the Twinkies.
Never been a Twinkie fan. I like the cupcakes. Those
are
nasty,
good.
Greasy cupcakes. You pull them out of the cups and they're like wet on the bottom.
But do you like the vanilla ones though, or do you? Like
I knew you were going to ask me that. Chocolate all day, every day.
I can respect that. I like them
if
both.
I wanted vanilla, I would just do Twinkie. I mean, it's not vanilla, but it's yellow sponge cake. You know what I mean?
Frosting on top of those cupcakes, that's where it's at.
It's true, especially when it's so hard and like you have to chisel it off with your teeth, and you're like, "How long has this been sitting here for?"
Doesn't matter. They don't have expiration dates. And also, if you could not tell already, that laugh comes from our rotating third host this week, Dev. Sir, how we doing?
Doing pretty good. And now I want a cupcake.
Yeah, me too.
Right? I know, right?
Yeah.
You ruined it.
They should have the Easter ones out right now too, which is usually a different color. They're usually pink, I think. And they have the baseball ones too.
The baseball ones I remember. I've never seen an Easter one, but I remember the baseball ones.
Yeah. But I like them both. They need to just sell a mixed one.
Ooh, like a king sized Reese's peanut butter cup, but instead of the cups, you get 4 cupcakes.
Hey, I'm down.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Question,
wouldn't that just be a cake though at this point, guys? Like you're talking about
you're eating like a whole cake.
I'm okay with that. I don't see the problem here.
What about the snowballs? The coconut thing.
Nope, hard pass.
No,
not a big fan.
Really.
The funny thing is, I like the zingers, and
zingers are good.
Zingers are good.
I'm not a fan of the snowball, but give me the zingers all day. The raspberry ones, those are bomb.
Oh, dude, those are money. That trumps everything we just talked about. I need zingers now.
This is already sounding like an episode of Board of Video Games. Like they talk about something completely unrelated for like 20 minutes, and then say, "Oh wait, we have a board game show."
Well, I'm into food culture, so
food culture.
I just like snacks.
That's fair. So I think we have to address one thing. Since Lucas came on board, we've kind of been retooling the show a little bit, both visually and structurally and kind of everything. We kind of kicked the old PSVG to the curb and wanted to come up with something new. Hence the official rebranding with that moniker Donnie actually gave a long time ago, is referring to this show as PSVG Prime. We're just going to run with it. So Lucas did a snazzy Transformers / Fluxtapose inspired new logo for us.
Yes. Mashes are the best of both worlds, just smashed together.
Exactly. So the inspiration for the show going forward, we're still going to do the same stuff, just in a more structured way. We're still going to cover what we're playing. We'll answer email questions as we get those. But for the news of the week now, we figure we come out on Mondays. It makes things a little bit hard sometimes if we record early. So we're recording Sunday nights for release on Monday mornings, which makes things super fun for me to edit it in time. But hey, it's all good. But the goal is to kind of be your weekend review on video game stories. So that way, when you hit the office Monday morning, you can sound like the smartest guy or the geekiest guy, in that case, around the water cooler. And we're going to try and cover news every week from the PC world, the Nintendo world, the Xbox, and the Sony, while trying not to repeat what you may have heard in PSVG last week from all of our shows. Since we have so many shows that cover so many different topics, we kind of want to pick up what other people may have missed, or if there's something that's really, really huge, obviously we're going to want to cover it too. But our goal is to give you news that you haven't already heard already, or maybe missed last week and, kind of got lost in the shuffle of other announcements and such, or, Nintendo news where Caroline wasn't screaming over and you couldn't make out what was actually being said. We'll cover it here so you actually understand what we're talking about. So I think that's fair. Is that kind of the gist of what we're going here for, Lucas?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. That's a perfect way of putting it. Couldn't have done better myself.
Good, because otherwise we just have to record like 10 more minutes of audio having you redoing what I just said.
That's exactly true.
That's true. Okay. Well, let's do what we came here to do. Let's talk some video games. So let's start off with a little bit about what we've been playing. Devin, since you're the guest, sir, you have the honors of going first.
All right. Sounds good to me. I have fallen hard back into the Destiny 2 life. They had a recent content drop, and it's really good. Lots of lore. They brought back a gun called Thorn, where if you were a Destiny player, you know all about the Thorn meta. 2 shots to the head and walk away and watch your enemy die in PvP. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times, but it was fun. So they brought that back, plus a lot of different lore content. So I'm really excited about that. Just been, playing through that. Been really, really good. Definitely has my juices flowing. Trying to get the group back together, trying to do a raid next week because my wife is actually going to be out of town, which lets me play a little bit more. So once the kids are in bed, I can actually just play all night and not have to worry about anything. So gonna try and get a raid in this week. Other than that, still, with the Nintendo Shack guys and that Return to Hyrule, just plodding along because that game, there's so much to do. It's daunting in a way, but still fun. So just trudging along, just unlocking shrines right now, making my way to wherever the game takes me, wherever the wind blows me, because it's just exploration for the most part. And then I did start New Super Mario Brothers 2. I got that as a surprise gift for the family. Nice. The kids definitely kind of like, especially my daughter, she likes that stuff. She really was hype over the little Kirby demo that she played. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm not buying Kirby, but I will get New Super Mario Bros. Because my wife, that is the only video game she will play, is the original Super Mario Brothers. So I was like, well, I remember when the trailer for this dropped, she was like, ooh, I want to play that way back in the day. So I was like, let me go ahead and get this and see if I can actually get the family to play something together. So been playing through that a little bit. It's so frustrating watching her play because she hasn't quite mastered the art of platforming at all. So it's just like, just go this way.
Hasn't quite done it at all.
And she has the jump with the controller motion where you
got to do that.
Oh my goodness. So it's just funny watching her go through that. And I'm like, you don't have to, you can jump over the enemies. It's cool. You don't have to try to speed the level. Take your time, figure out how to move. That way you can jump on the Goombas instead of constantly dying in the exact same spot where you mistime your jump. So trying to get her to fully acclimate to playing games because she is destined to play Fortnite with all of her little guy friends at school. I'm like, you can't play Mario Brothers. What makes you think you're going to be able to play a first-person shooter? Got to crawl before you walk, homie. Got to crawl before you walk. So that's what I've been playing. It's been fun watching her struggle and try to not interfere. Like, she keeps asking for help, and I'm like, when I was doing this as a child, nobody was helping me. You're going to have to learn on your own. So
that's true. It's true. I will tell you though, your comments about you let her do a platform, you can do Fortnite. I can't tell you, so my daughter can play Fortnite and she's okay. I mean, she's no me, let's be honest, but she's good. But you bring her to a platformer and she is terrible. So I don't know if it's just something with the way games are designed now, where they're just kind of grown right into these types of games versus platformers like we were. So yeah, I mean, she might be able to hang in Fortnite, but just not be able to nail Mario Bros. I don't know. My daughter's terrible at it. She's 15 at this point, so shooters she can do. But yeah, I think she's not so good with
that. That makes no sense. I just feel like it's gonna be ceiling, floor, floor.
Right. I don't know. It's those dance moves and being able to kill some of the other boys in her class that I guess motivates her more than trying to get to the end and jump down a flagpole. I don't know. but
I guess
it is what it is. So for me, I've actually done a lot, and I've been trying to clear out some of the backlog. So Donnie and I went on a buying spree last year where we pre-ordered a bunch of games, prepaid for them, so it wasn't like we were buying them left and right. And we've just been making our way through these games. So I had 10 games that I'd started but hadn't finished any of them. So, a couple weeks ago I finished Far Cry New Dawn, so that's put away. I last week finished Crackdown 3. So finish that campaign. There was still some extra side quest stuff I could have done, but there's really no need to go back and unlock everything. Still absolutely love that game. Still in my mind the best game that they've brought Xbox exclusive that they've brought to Game Pass so far by far. Had a lot of fun with that. Wrapped up the Resident Evil 2 Leon campaign, so beat that. Absolutely love that experience, and I will go back and play the Claire version eventually. I didn't want to do it back to back because I just want to kind of let it refresh and stew for a little bit, but I really enjoyed what they did with that remake, and that's, to be honest, that's how you do a remake. They did it right, where it didn't feel like an old game, it felt like a new game, just with a familiar story.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you beat the Claire one, right?
Yeah, just Claire. I'm doing the same thing where I'm kind of letting it sit for a minute and then I'll come back to it, but it's still up there. It's in iShot, so it's not forgotten, but one day I'll come back to it.
Yeah, I didn't uninstall it,
right?
What's that?
You're playing on PC, Lucas? You're playing on
yes,
PC,
I am
right?
playing on PC. Yeah.
Are you playing with the mod for Mr. X with DMX? please do that.
No, but I did see there is a mod to turn Mr. X into Freddy or Jason. No, not Freddy. Sorry, Jason Voorhees.
Ooh.
And that would be cool.
Now, did you see the one where he's Thomas the Tank Engine?
The Tank?
Yeah,
that's the one. That's the scariest one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that one I would run from my computer away from that. I'd be like, no, I have to watch this during the day. Leave me alone.
Went back to Kingdom Hearts 3 because I was loving that and just had so many other things jump in that I'd stopped playing that, put it down. I beat through the Monsters Inc. world, the Frozen world, and I'm currently in Pirates of the Caribbean now. And I'll echo kind of comments I said earlier where I'm still really loving this game. This game is clearly made for a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series. The game isn't doing anything new or groundbreaking for the most part. It's just more of the same and the really confusing story that even if you're an expert in Kingdom Hearts, you still cannot follow what is going on. I will say this game, for being as long in development, seems extremely disjointed. So yes, you jump from world to world and you go into different movies. So some of the graphics and stuff are meant to look as of that time or that era. So when you're playing Entangled, it looks CGI. And when you're playing in, other ones, it looks 2D. And that's the design of it. Monsters Inc. did not look good. So you saw Mike Wazowski and Boo was there. Sully's his fur looked terrible. And you saw Sully all the time, and they just didn't really nail that texture down, which is really weird. You think they'd spend time doing that. So I went from that world to Frozen. So now, obviously, we know Frozen was going to have to be in this game. It's a given.
Yeah.
They spent so much time in this world. I spent 3 times the amount of time playing through the Frozen level than any other level in the game. They made this the biggest chunk of the game. And okay, yes, I know I'm an adult male playing a game that's featuring Disney characters, but the people who love Frozen are not the target demographic for this game.
Yeah.
But they still felt the need to somehow incorporate the entire Let It Go song into the game in a cutscene that had story content around it. So I didn't want to skip it because I thought I might miss something. But the entire song.
Yikes.
That was really cool.
That
not the cutscene, but what you guys just did.
Yeah, that was crazy. I just wanted to mention, I looked up a picture of Sully in Kingdom Hearts 3. His fur looks like feathers.
Yes, it's really
so
weird.
I know what?
It looks like a parrot.
But now
and they didn't get the voice actors for Monsters Inc. either, did they?
No, but the guy who was doing John Goodman is really good.
Okay.
It sounds like him. Mike Wazowski, who's supposed to be Billy Crystal, sounds a little off, but not terrible. A lot of the voice actors they've got, if they haven't gotten the real people, they're pretty darn good. So I haven't really had any complaints with that. So then I jump to the Pirates world, and I want the whole game to look like the Pirates of the Caribbean levels. It is super good looking, like the Johnny Depps, the Orlando Blooms, the chick. I can't remember.
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley. I was just thinking Elizabeth Swann, which is her name. But like everybody looks exactly like they do, and it's like ultra realistic, which is funny because your sidekicks throughout the game is Donald the Goofy, but they gave them like almost a Guardians of the Galaxy CGI type look to them. So it's almost like you could picture Rocket Raccoon standing next to Donald the Goofy, and it would look okay in this world, like the way they did it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I want the whole game to look like this. It would have been awesome, but. So yeah, it's just kind of weird how you're jumping from world to world, and just graphically, like the quality is very different because of that. But I mean, I'm still making my way through it and having a lot of fun. Yoshi's Crafted World came in the other day. Played a couple levels with the wife. I really enjoyed the Yoshi's Woolly World back from the Wii U, and they ported it to 3DS too. It's more of the same so far, but I will say visually, this is probably one of, if not the best looking game on the Switch so far. The graphics, the textures, like it's meant to look like crafts. So you have things like cardboard, felt, Velcro, yarn, metal. It all looks like it's really there. Like you're almost playing a diorama of something versus a game. Like it looks really cool. So I'll report more on that as the weeks go by. We only played like the first 3 levels because it's been a busy weekend, but I'm going to be playing that co-op with the wife the entire way through, just like we did with Woolly World. So we're doing that. And then the last thing, which will kind of segue briefly into a news item, I'm playing Borderlands 2. Now, as much as a Fallout fan as I am, a lot of people say, well, then you must love Borderlands. I kind of missed the Borderlands train a little bit, and I have the Handsome Jack collection, and I think I've started Borderlands 2 once before, but for whatever reason, I didn't play it that much. But because of the Gearbox showcase at PAX East, and the announcement of Borderlands 3, obviously the hype train is in full motion now. So I was like, well, now's the time to go back and play that Handsome Jack collection I've had forever. So I've been playing through that and have a lot of fun with it so far. But Borderlands 3, I assume both of you guys saw the trailers and the news for that, right?
Yes. I got to see the trailer twice. Once at 15 frames per second and once at 30 frames per second. So
yeah.
Now see, I'm glad I didn't watch the live show because I saw the comments going on when it was going on. I was like, ooh, this sounds harsh, but
I think Randy Pitchford killed somebody at the end of that thing because he seems like a dude who's just like gets backstage and he's like, what just happened?
He didn't kill anybody. He just did some magic and made someone disappear.
Oh, yes. He made a phone call and suddenly right. You know what's funny I've noticed about Borderlands and people coming back to playing Borderlands is that nobody has once said that I've seen that they're going to go back and play Borderlands the pre-sequel. Pretty much everyone says, I never did play the pre-sequel, which tells me that came out way too close to Borderlands 2. And that's why nobody ever played it.
One friend that played it and he hates it. He said, I'm going to replay Borderlands 2. I'm going to replay Borderlands 1 when it comes out. He said, I'm never playing the pre-sequel again. Wow. And this is someone who dumped thousands of hours into Borderlands 2. Something about that game just totally sucked him in. And like, it is his most played game of all time. I mean, this dude, he was trying to get every gun. Ooh, like when they say there are millions of guns, this dude was like going after every single gun. Like I remember when it first came out. And this is one of my boys who worked with me at Best Buy, and I got him back into games. And he just took to Borderlands 2 like a bad habit. Like he did not stop playing that game. And I mean, it was interesting watching him go through. It was like an addiction. So with this news, he's like, oh man, I really want to go back and play. He doesn't have a PS4 Pro or a high-end PC. So he's like, I'm going to replay, 2 just because I am so hyped for 3. But like all the HD texture, the 4K texture packs and stuff, he's like, I can't take advantage of that. So I'm going to pass, but I will replay 1. And then he's all in for 3. Like he cannot wait. He's like, this is the best news I've heard in years.
Now, see, I think, and I could be wrong, I think Josh played the pre-sequel from Board with Video Games, so we might hear him say something about it on an upcoming show. But yeah, you're right, Lucas. Not a lot of people talk about the pre-sequel, and I don't understand. I don't know why. I didn't hear a lot of people trash talk either. It's just like, no, I never played it. I don't know if there's a lot going on at that time. Now, it's part of the Handsome Jack collection, so I probably will. And I'm going in with a clean slate. Like I don't know anything about it ahead of time. I don't have an opinion ahead of time. So I'll report on that eventually because I'll probably just play these 2 back to back because I don't think they're super long unless you want to grind and get all the guns and stuff. But
yeah,
Borderlands 2, I feel like was really long.
Okay.
I feel like I was playing that game forever. I love it.
Challenge accepted.
I definitely want to play it again, but it felt like it was a long game, but like a good long.
Yeah.
Like the world is just fun. So you kind of want to be in it for a minute.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see. But so Borderlands 3, the hype is real. I think it's a very good trailer. I liked what I saw, and it's some people gave it some flack, but they're like, oh, it just looks like more Borderlands.
Yeah,
I have a problem with more Borderlands. I'm good with that.
That's what we want, right?
Didn't you share, Dev, an article that some guy was complaining as it he even backpedaled and said, it's just a trailer that doesn't show any gameplay or anything. It's like, okay, everything you're complaining about has absolutely no bearing then, because you're pretty much admitting that you're just trying to put an article out there for people to click on. So if the formula isn't broken, then why fix it? And it's been, how long has it been? Yeah, exactly. And how long has it been?
5 years, right? 5 or 6 years.
I mean, the pre-sequel was on last gen, right? So
they both were. Yeah. So it's been a cool minute.
It's time.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like we as gamers sit there and say we want something new, but almost every game that tries to come back and do something new, we're all like, man, why they change it?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let Borderlands be Borderlands. It's fine. I assure you guys, let's just let it be. It'll be all good. So yeah, that's it for me, Lucas. What are you up to? Okay. What are you playing?
Well, I'm still plodding away at Division 2. I haven't put as much time into it as I'd like, but I'm up to level 13 or 14, somewhere around in there. So about doubled my level since the last time I talked about it. Nothing really to report. Just I was having some performance issues, but that seems to have fixed itself somehow. So I don't know what really happened.
That happens to all guys sometimes, Lucas. It's okay.
It's true. It's probably just I was very scared and some performance things I was afraid of. Stress. Mm-hmm. Yep. So instead, a couple of one offbeat game. I feel like I remember seeing a announcement trailer for this or something, and everyone was just like, why are these animals talking? What's going on? And then you found out it's an XCOM like game. And the game I'm talking about is Mutant League Year Zero Horizon Dawn 30. No, Mutant Year Zero. I could never remember the name of this game. It's such a weird. Well, okay, hold on. That's not even the full title. Mutant Year Zero : Road to Eden. That's the whole thing. And I could not remember that for the life of me, but I have today just for you listeners. So yeah, it's a strategy XCOM like game where you play as these mutant people who one is a boar. So that really reminds me of
Beyond Good.
Yes, thank you. All I could think of was Jade for some reason. And then Ducks, I think, is the name of the duck guy.
The Mallard.
Yes.
Call him Howard.
Howard the Duck. Yes, exactly. And then so far I've also encountered a fairly human-esque looking woman who has horns growing out of her head or something. But it is very, right from the get-go, it's very visually interesting. There's a lot to look at. The world is fantastical. It's set on Earth, but it's after some event that causes most of humanity to die off, and then some of the people who are left have mutated or something like that. Not 100% sure. But yeah, it's XCOM play, but instead of going into missions like you do in XCOM, where you have this kind of overworld view of the Earth, and then when something happens, you go to whatever map, load it in, and then you just start from your entry point and then do whatever the mission is. Here you have more of like a guided, I hesitate to say open world, but little hubs, little levels that are more open, and you can just freely walk around them, and you can find loot and stuff like that. But then once you encounter enemies, you can choose to engage them, and then it's a turn-based XCOM like game. So as opposed to, like I said, I'm going to start this mission now, click, and then you're already in combat practically. I'm really digging it though. It's really great. The setting, it seems like one of those games that would feel really cheap. You know what I mean? It seems like one of those games where it just wouldn't look quite right, and things would be slightly finicky, or the menus would be awful. And none of that has occurred so far, and it runs fine. And I'm enjoying it way more than I had expected. Let's just put it that way. So, so far it's fairly interesting with the weapons. You can upgrade things like you would expect, and your characters also level up. And since they're mutants, they kind of mutate into new powers or new abilities. So when you upgrade their health, for instance, it's given as like it's a mutation.
Okay.
I think the duck character can grow wings and can fly at some point, or the girl character gets an ability where she doesn't have to climb ladders. She can just jump right up to the second story or whatever. So yeah, it just seems really cool, and I just want to play more of it. It's a little bit slower though, because you're going through this story and you're walking everywhere and you're not just clicking on the missions and hitting go. So it's a little bit slower paced in that sense. So
I believe it's on Game Pass too. For anybody that's listening, that's not a PC player. Yep. I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass right now. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if this was on consoles or not, but it did have controller support, so I assumed. And the controller support is fantastic. I played with the controller so far. I haven't even played with mouse and keyboard.
Okay.
Worked fine. So
cool.
No problems there. The other one that I played, and I know Kevin, you were very excited about this, was I started Thimbleweed Park. Now I haven't gotten very far, and I am playing on PC. I was looking out for this to go on sale for so long, and that ended up being free through, I don't even remember. I think it was Humble Bundle.
No, it was Epic Store.
Okay. And so I got it free from Epic Store, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness I didn't buy it, because how foolish would I have seemed? So I haven't gotten far enough to really comment too much on it, other than I'm really enjoying the humor and just the story that's presented. I love the fact that you go to the police department and everything is like nobody does any actual work. It's just there's whatever Tron 3000. So there's like the Blood Tron 3000 or the Arrest Tron 3000, and everything's just taken care of by computers. And the quirky characters, of course, too. So really digging it. It's tough to sit down and play. I really need to be in the mood to play a point and click adventure. They make it easy. I will say that they make it easy, even though it seems like it would be difficult, because there is the old school menu of open, give, take, use, whatever. You can usually, contextually speaking, everything is already mapped to the right click on the mouse. So more often than not, you don't really need to, for instance, go down and press open, click on open, and then use it on a door every time you want to open a door. You can just right click on it and it'll automatically happen. So they went to some lengths to actually make it accessible, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah, I mean, if I can play it on the Switch, you should be able to have no problem on the PC.
Yeah, so. Yeah. That's very true. Do they use the touch controls on the Switch at all for that game?
If they did, I never used them. I typically don't use touch controls unless they make me, so I honestly don't recall ever using them. Okay. So I want to say no.
I just wondered, because of the layout of everything, it would, other than how you'd have to space them out a little bit, a little bit, and make them buttons maybe, so that you kind of saw where the border of each thing was. But I think it would lend itself somewhat to a touch control scheme. So I wasn't sure if that was the case, but yeah, I started it and was in the mood for it, but I haven't really gone back to it since. So, but once I do, I'll put a good amount of hours into it. Once I sit down to play one of these things, I'll be there for a couple hours. It's just making sure I know I have 2 hours to spend on this game. So
right. Yeah. It's not the kind of game you want to jump in for like 10, 15 minutes and put down. Like, you don't really get anything done that way.
Yeah. And if you wait too long, then you come back and you're like, what was I doing? I forgot what's happening. So
exactly. Yeah. As you play, keep me updated. If you like it, I can probably get somebody who worked on it to come on the show and talk with us if you'd like. So
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I had the offer before, but I was the only person on PSVG playing it that I could get to play it. So
well, that would just be interesting from the perspective of making a game like that in a climate where most people don't really want to play point and click adventure games, at least not like the old ones. So,
and this person also worked with the LucasArts team back in the day when they really did these types of games. So yeah, so get to nice. And if you like it, I can try and make that happen. So
I want that to happen, even if I didn't like it.
No, well, I want you to play it at least.
Play the game.
Yeah, I will play the game. Sorry, I didn't play your game. Can you be on our show, please?
Sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah.
But no, cool. I think you'll dig it. Like I said, the humor is definitely right up your alley, and it's definitely one of those old school LucasArts games done properly in the modern age. But that's because of a lot of people that worked on this game had worked on those games like Maniac Mansion, like those types of games back in the day. So cool. All right. I think it's time to jump into our new format of the news of the week.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite news outlet on the Citadel.
And we will start off in the world of PlayStation. So PlayStation, of course, it's the beginning of the month. They had to announce their PlayStation Plus lineup. And for April, we are getting the Surge, which is described as a catastrophic event has knocked you out during the first day on the job. You wake up equipped with a heavy grade exoskeleton in a destroyed section of the complex. Robots gone haywire, insane augmented coworkers, and rogue AI. Everything wants you dead. Yeah, I've heard this game referred to as the Dark Souls of like mech shooters. So
yeah, I've played this game. Remember when I was talking about everything on a cheaper game is kind of slightly janky?
Yeah,
that's going on here. It looks pretty good, but I will tell you, anybody who wants to play this game, I was way into this game until I encountered the first boss, and that ruined almost everything for me. So just keep that in mind, because I have not gone back to it since I beat that boss, because I was just like, I feel like I just completed the game. That's how difficult that was, because it was just a horrible experience. But yeah, it was good. I was really into it before all of that happened. And it is basically Dark Souls of mixed with a sci-fi setting. So
interesting, because I got it way back in the day. It was on sale for like $5.
Yeah, I've seen it low.
Yeah,
high version. So I went ahead and picked it up, mainly based on the fact that it runs at 60 frames per second on console on the PS4 Pro. So I was like, I can get a game that runs this, and it looks like it might be fun. So I picked it up, and I haven't played it. I think I've had it for almost a year now, and it's just at
nice.
Many other games. It's a disgrace, but maybe I'll play it.
I'll say now that it's free, I'm at least going to add it to my library if I ever go and play it. Who knows, but it'll be there. And the second offering is Conan Exiles. You may recall that as the 2018 PSVG award-winning Donnie Game of the Year. Conan Exiles is described as an open-world survival game set in the brutal lands of Conan the Barbarian. Survive in a savage world, build your kingdom, and dominate your enemies in brutal combat and epic warfare. And, of course, the dong slider, which you can adjust the size of your equipment in the game, which is why it won the coveted Donnie Award for 2018. So yeah, you can get those starting April 2nd. So if you're listening day one, you can get it tomorrow. So pick those up. The other news in the world of Sony, which has a little more conversation around that, is Kaz Hiari is retiring from Sony. So nearly 1 year after stepping down as president and CEO to take the role of Sony chairman, he announced that he's retiring. The longtime employee will be leaving June 18th, though he'll continue to carry on work throughout the company as an advisor. He said basically he's done what he set out to do, was to set up a good transition for the next CEO since passing of the baton and setting things up for them to win. He feels that time's over and he can step down after 35 years with Sony. So with that being said, does he feel now that he's not challenged, guys, with the competition of Reggie, that he just has no purpose left in his life, that he can just step down and walk away too? Like, maybe that's what it is.
He's like Ryu from Street Fighter. There's no more challenge, so he's walking off into the sunset.
Exactly. I think that might be it. But so I mean, yeah. Do you think there's anything more overlying here? Like, is there a message being sent now? We're seeing Reggie walk away. We're seeing Kaz walk away now at this point. It's kind of, Sony's in a weird position right now. So stepped away from E3, which is fine. They're starting their Sony Directs, if you want to call them, state of plays, which had a rocky start, but first episode, I'm willing to give a pass. And I didn't think it was as bad as a lot of people tore into it on. Like, I get it, and it was a first going, so I'm okay with it. If that's going to be the strategy here, like, but what's Sony's plan? Like, you got to imagine PS5 isn't that far away. We got to assume it's probably next year. And they're just seem to kind of be pulling everything away, and stuff seems to be falling apart now. And that's normally not what you want to see in a big company gearing up for their next, big phase. So Dev, your thoughts as a Sony guy?
So for me, Kaz felt like he'd been gone for a while. Like, so him stepping down, like actually all the way stepping down, doesn't feel like, a huge thing. Cause I just feel like he hasn't really been the face Sony for quite some time. And it is weird. Sony it's like they just have completely forgotten how to talk to their audience. They seem like they really knew what they were doing at the launch of PS4 and then like through the couple of years following. But ever since last year and probably early the year before, it just felt like they didn't know, what the direction they were going to take. Like they didn't seem to really talk to fans, and then they seemed like they really were like, okay, so we want to talk to you guys more. We're going to give you more information, let you know what's going on. And then they just didn't. And E3 was weird. We didn't get a we didn't get a PSX. Mm-hmm. They stepped away from E3. This direct was just weird. Like it just seems like they're not sure how to talk to their audience, or they're trying to be so secretive with whatever it is that they have on the horizon that it's just coming off as we don't know what we're doing. So I'm hoping that, with him stepping down, they already have, things in place. We're going to start seeing more stuff leading up to whatever they do for E3 through these directs. And then they'll hit the ground running with PS5 or streaming or whatever it is they plan to do. I'm just hoping that there's an actual plan in place and it's not more of this silence and awkwardness. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know what to make of it at this point. It's like, what is going on? Where is Shuhei? Dang it!
Yeah, like, it's weird. Yeah, it's been really quiet. Like, bring back Kevin Butler. Let Shuhei talk,
please.
But you're right, because you look at the way. So Nintendo, I mean, pretty standard. I think every video game fan at this point realizes, as far as like directs and press conferences go, Nintendo just wins at them. Like they just know how to do it. They know to come in. Even their bad directs are you still walk away like, oh, okay, well that was only 20 minutes and it was very to the point and I got all the information I needed. There just wasn't anything for me in it. Though it's fine. You don't hate on it as much. Microsoft, if anything, sometimes over communicates their stuff. They're so engulfed in their fans. They have weekly podcasts, with Major Nelson's doing the weekly show on Mixer and in podcast format. And he's got, the inside Xbox stuff, and they're doing all this crazy stuff all the time that they might be over communicating. And you have Sony who's just like, we're not going to do anything. It's a little jarring at times.
Yeah, even their PS blog, it just seems like this is all regular news you find anywhere else.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, I used to listen to their podcast, but they've had so many people leave that I don't even know who's on their podcast anymore, and I haven't listened to it in forever. So it just seems like Sony just doesn't know what they want to do or how to communicate what they're actually trying to do.
You didn't know that Seth and Justin took over that podcast? Ew. Lucas.
Yeah.
PC news. What you got?
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted my hard-hitting opinion on Sony PlayStation.
I assume you don't have one, but if you have one, go for it. But
I was just going to say that I feel like usually people step down when their vision does not align with the companies anymore. So I feel like if they're transitioning to a different game plan or whatever, then the people who don't really fit into that plan anymore probably need to find somewhere else to go. So that would be my only
interesting, because so he was basically essential in that transition period from PS3 to PS4. So I mean, he was kind of like the guy that was the driving force behind getting them to that number one position they currently have. So it's interesting to say, but I think you're right. People generally step away when it's like, all right, this isn't heading where I want to go, so I'm just going to exit. Like, how bad could they be messing this up then? Or like, like I don't know. Like, what are they going?
How big of a turn are they going for?
And yeah. Right. But he stepped down, but we also lost Andrew House, and there was one other dude that we lost. Like they've lost a couple of people like throughout the PS4. So it's just really weird. And the new guy, the new CEO, I feel like I don't even know who he is. I feel like I've never seen his face, I've never heard him talk.
That's true. Yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah.
Well, as far as PC news goes, one thing I'd like to do, because I think PC is underrepresented just in gaming news in general, is shed some light on games that are specific to the PC. It's weird because we always talk about console specific games or console games that are going only to one console. And you don't hear that much about PC because it's just like, oh, well, it's a PC only game. It's almost sad. Everyone's just like, oh, it's not going to come to console. Who cares? So I will always keep my eyes out for games that might get, pushed under the rug just because they're not coming to console. And one that I had seen that kind of caught my eye was called Hell Let Loose. And it is a World War II shooter that is large in scale. So think Battlefield or what's the was it Call of Duty that had a World War II?
Yep.
Okay.
They both did them, yeah.
Okay, it's hard to keep them separated anymore. But the difference here being that it will be much more simulated, much more simulation, as opposed to, quick action and whatnot. Even for World War II, nobody wants their gun to jam or whatever when they're playing the game. But this will be big 50 versus 50 battles on real scale, iconic battlefields of World War II. So I'm guessing they'll probably do recreations of actual locations, make everything, like they say, real scale. There's vehicles, of course, and, just all the strategic decision making, and apparently 14 different playable roles drawn from infantry, recon, and armor. Okay. Including officer, scout, gunner, medic, engineer, and tank commander. They go on to say, Hell Let Loose is not about kill-death ratios and unlocks. Teamwork is central to gameplay. Communication is essential.
It definitely looks like Battlefield. I will say, because having played Battlefield recently too, like it looks, which is a good thing. I like the way Battlefield looks, and I don't like the kind of stab it did take at it, saying, where Battlefield 5 mixes fast gunplay and vehicle stunts. I don't know what game they're playing, because I don't get any vehicle stunts because their vehicles are slow as heck, and there's no fast gunplay because all my guns, it's like, okay, I can shoot 5 bullets and I got to reload, and reload takes forever. It's not like just drop the clip and lock it in. So I don't know. To me, it sounds like more like Battlefield 5, which I don't see it as a bad thing. It definitely does seem interesting, and I am interested in the 50 versus 50 aspect. That's pretty cool.
Even the playable roles sound like Battlefield. Battlefield, you're not just like, there are actual roles, and if you have a team that actually plays their role in Battlefield, you're gonna roll over the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true. And I do wonder how besides that, how they're going to actually separate themselves from what I would say is a very crowded field of or genre of game. The only thing I can think of too is we already have Arma and stuff like that. So yeah, is it just Arma World War II style? Because that's definitely not Battlefield, but it's a completely different kind of game. And I don't know, I guess all I'm saying is, if you're looking for something that's on the slower side and maybe a little bit more tactical, a little bit more simulation, then and you have a PC, so all 3 of you listening right now, that includes me, then look at Hell Let Loose, and maybe if it does well, it will come to consoles someday.
Yep, and it's only $30 too, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I was gonna say, or it'll just be an Epic Store exclusive or something, and nobody will get it. Speaking of Epic Store, the other PC news that I wanted to look at this, because I personally don't play this game and never had, but I know slightly kind of what the idea was behind it and kind of what they were trying to go for. Are any of you guys familiar with the game Artifact, which was the card game that Valve did?
I am, yeah. And Border Video Games actually just recently talked about it too a little bit.
Okay. So basically, Valve surprisingly admitted that they made a mistake with this and want a do-over for the most part. Now, like I said, I hadn't played it, so I didn't know there were the issues. I just assumed that nobody played this game because there was already Hearthstone. So
yeah, I mean,
why bother?
The trick with this game was, as opposed to taking a Hearthstone type, aspect to it, it was literally like Magic the Gathering, but not Magic the Gathering as in playing it on PC, as in like, hey, you need to buy tons of card packs. Like, you can't earn these cards, Lucas. You need to actually just shell out money if you want to buy packs of cards. And by the way, you might get doubles. So that's always fun in digital non-existent items to get doubles when you spend money.
Gosh,
so,
yeah. What's to complain about with such an alluring idea?
Yeah, so like Magic the Gathering Online, they do a similar thing. Like, yes, you buy the game and you can buy decks, but it's not as like forced down your throat as apparently as Artifact was. And I think that was the biggest address, where people didn't want to dump all this money into it. In a new IP too, so like you didn't have any familiarity to build off of like you do with Magic, so people weren't buying as much as they were expecting, and then the player base just died down. So even if you were a fan of it, you don't have many people to play against either, so that kind of kills the game as well.
Yeah, they go on to say in this article that well, they say obviously things didn't turn out how we had hoped. Artifact represents the largest discrepancy between our expectations for how one of our games would be received and the actual outcome. You think? But they do go on to say also that there were deep-rooted issues. And I think basically it came down to they were more worried about selling card packs than they were about the way that instead of shipping the updates that they were, because I guess from reading this article, their game plan was to put this out in the wild, listen to what the players said about it, and then update accordingly.
Yep.
However, when your first step is a misstep, you're just falling down the mountain the entire way. You know, you can't really gain any ground back, and you really got to come out, shooting in this day and age. People don't have enough time to wait for the game to get good. Look at Anthem. I mean, I hate to bring it up. It's a fresh wound, but I've heard plenty of people say that they'll come back to it when it's put it back in the oven. It's not done yet. We'll come back when it's done. So
yeah, they put it with Artifact. They did a lot of art updates to cards and stuff like that, but they didn't actually look at things like card balancing, like, hey, this card's OP or this card doesn't make sense, or if you get these three, it's almost a guaranteed win. Like, they didn't do those things, which in a card game, you have to adjust those things, like no matter what card game, because somebody will always figure out a way to manipulate the game in their favor. So you need these balances and things to go forward. And apparently they did none of that, which is a major issue in a new card game. Yeah, especially because they've never done a card game. How do they know how to do this? So you're gonna have stuff that's overpowered. You need to rebalance, and they just didn't do any of that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that's what they're kind of planning to do now. They pulled it. I believe they pulled this off the store, and it's returning to game development. They're going to try to rework it. Hopefully they get some board game people involved.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people were involved before, but you would think that maybe they would. And then once it's re-released, try and be more cognizant of what they did in the past to make this such a debacle.
Agreed. Cool. All right, let's jump over to Xbox land then. So obviously with PlayStation Plus, of course, Games with Gold was also announced for April. And so for the month of April, Xbox Live Gold members will receive 4 new free games, as always, 2 on Xbox One and 2 on Xbox 360, but they're always backwards compatible. So you're really getting 4 games. Let's be honest. I don't know why they keep phrasing it this way. But from April 1st to 30th, you can get Technomancer. From April 16th to May 15th, you get Outcast Second Contact. Both of those the Xbox One titles. On the original, so it's not even Xbox 360, original Xbox game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, as in the original Star Wars Battlefront 2.
A lot of people love that game still.
The good one, I was going to say, yes, the good one is there. April 1st to the 15th, and then Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, April 16th through the 30th. So I think kind of across the board between both Sony and Xbox, this is kind of a weaker month. I am a little interested in the Technomancer, to be honest, to at least give it a shot. I don't know if I can go back to that Star Wars Battlefront 2 and just see how it runs now at this point. I've always been a little against Microsoft putting out the original Xbox titles as the free titles. I'm like, yeah, it's backwards compatible. It's air quotes enhanced, but like that's really trying to go back and play like an N64 game now. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah, especially with the controls in some of those games. Sometimes things that were the newest thing back then now becomes a giant nightmare that you don't really want to have to put up with. I believe this Technomancer game is actually from the same. Yeah, I believe it's from the same company or developer that did The Surge, or at least the same publisher.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of known for Focus Home Interactive. Yeah. They're the ones that are known for kind of that B grade game feel. So they have good like world building stuff, like good world building and lore and everything, but then the game kind of just runs okay. But yeah, I would agree it's pretty weak. I would not be excited for that at all.
Yeah, but and honestly, with the games with gold, I've been less excited about those kind of every month lately because it seems like they're bringing their better games to Game Pass, which that's fine. So with those, in case you missed it, there were a couple of games that dropped at the end of March. They seem to kind of be cycling these towards the end of the month now. We got 2 games on March 21st was Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which I do want to go back and play. I think I played a little bit of it, but didn't play much. I think I like rented it or something. And then the fan favorite here amongst PSVG players, What Remains of Edith Finch, has been added to Game Pass. So if you have not played that yet, I urge you to play it. One of the best indie games I've ever played, hands down.
Wow.
Hands down. And then on March 28th, so just a few days ago, they dropped The Walking Dead Michonne and Vampire. And Vampire is spelled the cool way, Vampyer. Those are both available. And then last game was dropped today, I think. Operencia, The Stolen Sun, which is a dungeon crawling RPG game by Zen Studios. It's old school turn-based battle. Based on European mythology, so probably Norse gods and stuff like that. So those are all available on Game Pass for Game Pass fans. And hey, as a reminder, as always, if you have never used Game Pass yet, you can get the first month for $1.
Cool.
I was expecting you to say I'd buy that for $1. I'm just
I'd buy that for $1.
There you go.
Can I have the two women that's in that part too?
See, if we were still doing the video podcast, could have just superimpose them next to you, like green screen wise,
or just superimpose you two next to me.
Hey.
All right, save us. Go to Nintendo Land, Lucas.
Okay. I found this to be kind of funny, and maybe we can have a good laugh about this. Apparently, Best Buy seems to have leaked Joker's render in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Now, I click on this and I look at it and I go, well, that just looks like some promotional art to me. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
I'm pulling it up right now to try and see it.
It's not like I guess I expected the in-game model, and instead it looks like the art that would be on the character select screen.
Ooh, yeah, huh?
And I'm not too familiar with Joker as a character anyway, so to me, I just assumed they were going to pull it from the game.
Right.
Just bring it over. So maybe someone else here can shed some light on it, because I opened this and I went, well, that seems significant. And then I looked at it and I thought, oh, never mind.
Yeah, like it doesn't look like. So I'm looking up just images of Joker and it doesn't even look like the same. Yeah, it's weird.
You could tell me this was anybody and I still wouldn't know.
Well, I'm just Googling the real Joker from the game, and it's not the same. Like his hair.
That must be difficult, by the way, because I just type in Joker and
no, Google, I did Joker Persona 5. So
I got you. I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Isn't that weird? It wasn't just me then, because the first one that comes up just looks the same exact style, just in a different pose, where he's facing forward instead of doing a gambit card throw, or at least that's what it looks like in this one. Okay, so then that's all I want to know, was it's not just me. It seems it was less exciting than I thought it was going to be. And
I'm thinking they had to just rip it off something else and just use it.
Yep.
Because Best Buy people, I mean, Devin, I know, like, and I was in the media video game department for a while there too, and they like to pretend they knew what was happening ahead of time. They didn't know squat most of the time. So and for them to get hands on art that's supposed to be official that's not out yet, I find that very unlikely. I bet somebody just took something. I don't know. Strange. Way to get Best Buy in trouble. Jeez, whoever that was. All right, let's get to the more interesting news. This is the one that has a little meat on the bone. Am I right? Yeah, it does.
So Monolith Soft has put out a call
of duty
people. Yes, Modern Warfare. Put out a call of duty for people to work on a new Legend of Zelda project. God, ad blocker. Why have ad blocker if every site asks you to turn off ad blocker? Goodness gracious. Can't I just block an ad, please? All right. Of course, Monolith Soft being the people behind Xenoblade. So it stands to wonder, what the heck is this going to be then?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So they did help with Breath of the Wild, so that's commonly known. So if they are working on something new for Zelda, I would imagine it's got to be the same engine as Breath of the Wild. But I'm wondering, with the whole dance of the techno dancer, necro dancer, whatever the heck that Zelda game is, that almost everyone universally was like, hey, cool. And then like, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't want that, because it seems like everybody said that now. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're just going to let them do something Xenoblade-like with the Zelda universe, and kind of
that would be my assumption,
messing with that, as opposed to a core Zelda game. But so I was in my head when I first read this, in my head I was like, well, Breath of the Wild took forever to develop. Zelda games take a long time to develop typically.
Mhm.
But then I recall Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask. Those were like a year after each other because they used the exact same engine. So it is possible, but I don't know if Nintendo would let them just run with it and make a core Zelda game. Like, they have been letting other people play in that sandbox, but as far as messing with the story, with the timeline of Zelda, they haven't given those reins to anybody else.
I mean, I think you got to look at the wording. It's a Legend of Zelda project. It doesn't say game or anything core. So I think when I read that, to me, it seems like it's going to be some kind of offshoot or something like the Techno Dancer type thing. I don't know if this would be a core thing. I think maybe they'll use some of the stuff that they did for Breath of the Wild and then create something on their own that uses Zelda.
I mean, even if they want to tap in and say, give everyone what they thought we were getting with the DLC, which was like, hey, I want to play as the Guardians. If you let the 4 Guardians from the Breath of the Wild get a game, you could let them play with that toy box, and I don't think I'd have a problem with it. It's a Zelda project, but it doesn't necessarily directly involve Link and Zelda.
Well, they do list their other projects as projects. So they say they're working on another game called Project 1, and then this is Project 2, this Zelda project, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect anything more than something like the Hyrule Warriors type deal. Something in the vein of that.
Right. So I would say, I could see them doing something, but just not a direct Link game.
Does it seem kind of soon for that to happen? Even if it took them 2 years.
Right. And that's my thing. In my head, I'm like, it's too soon. But then you're like, man, we're celebrating the 3rd anniversary of Breath of the Wild. So it's like, it's been a minute. And I personally think like Breath of the Wild was done for a while. So we got to remember, it was a Wii U game. So, and I think they held it back so they could put it out on Switch at the same time. So they could have really been working on this for 3 or 4 years, which would put it in the right realm. But I'm hard pressed to think it's actually a Zelda game versus just a Zelda inspired adventure or something.
Well, and I'm looking at.
You don't think it's anything like the Skyward Sword stuff that I've been seeing, like the.
I really don't know if they do Skyward Sword, and we've talked about this a lot, and a lot of the shows have, because it focused so much on the motion controls. I don't see them doing it unless it literally was built from the ground up, and that game wasn't one that's been held so dearly by fans. I think they would demand an entire rebuild of that game. Personally, I could be wrong, but
yeah. I don't know. I was just looking up the other games that they've worked on, and that does come up for some reason, Skyward Sword. But everything else is basically Xenoblade.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a really hard time believing it's all Xenoblade, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's Zelda.
Like they've assisted in Zeldas, but it's like, how many,
Yeah, it does.
Would they let them take it over if they just assisted?
Right, exactly, and especially for a company that's so obvious in a certain style of game. Like Xenoblade is a very certain, specific, menu-heavy game, and I don't think of Zelda when I think of Xenoblade. Plus, like it said, in this article, they were mostly doing environmental design for the game.
Yeah.
So they really, I don't know, that's like saying a background artist is working on the cartoon that they used to help with, and rebooting it. So it seems weird that you would give environmental designers the keys to your kingdom. So
okay, so I'm reading a little bit here, and I actually didn't even know this much about it. So one of the branches also provided support for Skyward Sword, like you mentioned.
Okay, that's why that was up there then.
Animal Crossing New Leaf, Pikmin 3, Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, that was the 3DS one that came out, that was pretty cool. Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So they've like assisted in a lot of different things, not taking the lead charge, but I mean,
a relationship.
Right. I could see then in this case giving them a game like A Link Between Worlds, a 2D Zelda, saying go for it. But we're getting one right now with the Link's Awakening remake. So they're going to try either release 2 of those in 2 years. I don't know.
Calling it now. Legend of Zelda Battle Royale. Let's go.
Link to the Past complete remake.
Don't play with me.
Everybody wants it. Everybody wants it.
It would be cool. And
if anybody was going to buy two of those back to back like that, or so close to one another, it would be those two, Link's Awakening and Link to the Past.
That's true.
I would definitely do that. No problem.
And I would even do it. I would even do it in the same art style. If they did both of them that way with what Link's Awakening looks like, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I am too.
I guess time will tell. We'll find out.
We'll keep our eyes on any developments in the story.
Stay tuned to PSVG.
Don't touch that dial.
You won't believe what happened next.
Does anything have a dial anymore? Is there anything out there these days that has a dial?
I guess some thermostats still do. Because even like the Nest technically has a dial.
That's true. That's just because old people need to know how to use it. It's like, this connects to my phone. Why do I need a dial?
For old people, like you said.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Do old people listen to this podcast?
Define old, because Callow and Chaffee, they're
That is true. That is true. Well, on that note, guys, I think we're ready to wrap things up. So, Dev, where can people find you? Anything else you're up to, good sir, you'd like to mention?
You can find me on the Twitterverse as usual at Dev Tias. Just come shout me a holler down. I'm also in the Discord pretty regularly. Like Lucas, I do my best to derail convos. Other than that, the OT is on hiatus. Coach Mo is working really, really hard with a lot of side stuff. So we're trying to see when we can get back together and get a show. But other than that, I am just trying to fill in this third chair whenever y'all need one. And I'm around for any other show who doesn't record, at a ridiculous hour on the West Coast.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Lucas, where can people find you if they can't just get enough of you here on this show?
I couldn't even think of that as a possibility. Well, I'm always creeping in the Discord. I think it's been mentioned that I'm about 300 messages a day, something like that. Was the last number. So yeah, I'm around Discord. I also do this little show called Fluxopposed. If it's basically just explicit, more of this, just explicit. Like we turn off the filters. So if you're interested in that, don't let your mom see you downloaded it. So yeah, other than that, you know where to find me.
Cool.
What's up?
Cool. So you can follow me if you want on Twitter at PSVG Kevin, or follow the whole network at PSVG, of course. If you want to see all the different things the PSVG Podcast Network has to offer, you can head on over to the website, psvg.blog. As a reminder, if you'd like to support us monetarily and get a chance for a monthly giveaway and access to those amazing PSVG DLC shows, which the next one ought to be interesting. It's either going to be really good or it's going to be really, really bad.
What's the next one?
Well, Lucas, funny you should ask. So for those of you who don't listen to the PSVG DLC shows because you're not a member yet, PSVG DLC 4 is going to feature a rap battle where the shows of the network are going face to face for those that are brave enough to step up and accept the challenge in an all-out war, which the Patreon supporters will be able to vote on the winner of the battle royale, if you will, as well as some currently to remain undisclosed judges who are going to be neutral are also going to help judge as well. So, yeah.
Wow, that sounds
quite
wonderful. Wow.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for hopefully telling a friend. We appreciate you. Head on over to iTunes or Google Play or wherever you listen to this awesome show at. Give us a rating and review. It helps us reach more and more people so we can assimilate the masses and corrupt your minds, get inside your ear holes, all that fun stuff. But most importantly, we ask, as always, that you never stop gaming.